Unbelievable. Oh my goodness.
SHW, this is our wrestling.
This is insane. Are you kidding me right now? Hey, what is going on here? The action is fast and furious. You never know who's going to show up in SHW.
Brandon Benefield, Gerard Bonner, and Diana Michelle.
Business is about to pick up. This place just went ballistic. What's going on, everybody? It's SHW. This is our wrestling, the official podcast of Southern Honor Wrestling. It's me, B-Double Brandon Benefield, GB Gerard Bonner, and the lovely Diana Michelle. Oh, you guys having a good week? What's going on?
We are good. How are you?
We're good. Doing well. Excited for another great episode. GB, I see you're getting your mic situated. You got to make sure you can do all your things there.
Yeah, you know, you got to pose right. You don't want to hit the mic, all that fun jazz. You know.
Last week on the way out of the show, you kind of bumped it. It's all good.
It was kind of weird. So, all good. All good. What a fun show last week. Unpredictable, wasn't it? Jeez.
The real mean girl, Danny Jordan, making her return not only to the show, but on May 7th, making her return to in-ring action at SHW27, taking on Catalina Perez. And we're gonna get to that because tonight we're going to do a bit of a preview because earlier this week or throughout this week, all of the remaining matches have been announced. So we now know to this point what we assume will be the full card, unless we get surprised with any additions.
As we know, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Like last month with Diana, one of your favorites, Bryce Cannon and Owen having that surprise match.
Yeah, I mean, what did he call you?
A hussy.
Oh, that.
He called me a hussy.
That's not exactly a nice name, and I don't appreciate him calling you that.
He's not a nice guy.
He's not. That's why he got beat so fast.
That's right. Quick, tapped out. He was tapping out, and what was funny is you couldn't see him tap out. And poor ref, he couldn't see him tap because he was just suffering. I was rolling. It was great.
It was great.
He was like,
I love it.
Awesome. I've watched it back on IWTV a couple of times just to see it. It's pretty good.
You kept rewinding that one part.
Exactly.
And rightfully so, So that's the other funny thing, like I think. And I'm not going to say we're out of the pandemic. We're not. But now that we're back to regular shows, on a monthly basis, it's like the time between shows really flies. And so on 1 minute, we're like prepping for the next show. On the next minute, we're going back to rewatch the previous show. Like, it's all crazy. So if you guys haven't seen SHW26 or any of the other previous shows, of course, always go back. Check them out on IWTV, where, of course, you can get your first 5 days for free by using the promo code SHW, and you get to see all sorts of cool things, including what I like to call the evolution of Diana Michelle, as she goes from just kind of, I'm new and I'm glad to be here, to becoming the announcer of the year, to becoming Wonder Woman, who takes no stuff from anybody. Go see it. I promise you, the evolution itself is worth the price of admission.
I need a highlight reel. I'm telling you.
You do.
I need a highlight reel.
You absolutely do.
I want to see just a highlight reel. Just all you're doing is when you snatch the mic from Ali. Because there's got to be like a number of times where every time you do it, you snatch it from him. And I love it.
It's like some music. So it's like, bam, bam, bam.
Just a montage of the times that you snatch the mic. That's my favorite. Every
I
show.
Love it. It's so good.
Oh my God, I have so much good stuff for him. Like, ala booyah, ala see ya, ala screw ya. Oh, it's going to be so good.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Loser. Yeah.
Ala loser.
Yeah.
That's
a shout out to Mike Holmes, by the way, from Immortal Tattoos.
Yeah.
They always hashtag Ali Loser.
I
Are they
love
the
that.
ones that do like the coolest signs?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
Cheyenne the sign girl. That's Mike's
Yes.
daughter. Cheyenne the sign girl. They always have the best art and
Their
sayings.
signs are amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see the one of Lee Johnson last week? That was like,
Yeah.
That
it
was a cool one.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she
yeah.
even had like his braids and stuff. It was
It's amazing.
You'll know who we're talking about if you go back and, like GB said, on IWTV. The signs always make it onto the shows on
Always.
IWTV. And also, speaking of signs, there's like the Owen Knight fan club over there on the other side of the ring. Of course,
Yes.
I'm going to call them the Owen Knight fan club. They're also fans of David Ali, but I don't want to even mention
well,
that. But I just
you
did.
know.
Anyway,
Oh, that's the David Ali chorus.
right. Yeah, they do.
And
sing
they're
along.
loud too. Like you can hear them on IWTV. It's kind of crazy.
But you
shout
gotta
out to
love
those
them.
guys.
Yeah, shout
they're-
out to
they're-
those.
They
Gotta
had a
love them.
Diana sign last show.
Yeah, they
Aha.
bring the signs as well. That was what I was getting to. So and that's the thing. If you haven't been to a show, or even if you have and you haven't brought a sign, feel free to bring signs. We love it
Mhm.
when the fans bring signs. It just gives it that old school feel. I feel like I'm watching Attitude Era Monday Night
Yeah.
Raw or Nitro when there were just
Yeah.
signs everywhere. It's crazy. Like if you watch it now, and younger fans that watch the product now probably have no clue what it used to look like. If you pull up on YouTube or on the WWE Network one of these old Raws or Nitros, remember just the sea of signs. Like
Yes.
that's all you could see. You could even see
Said
the fans.
everything,
Yeah.
anything, and everything.
Well, there's that too, but it was great. And so there were always, even as fans watching, there were certain fans you would see regularly,
Right.
that became pretty popular super fans. There was one guy that's called Sign Guy in WWE that I actually had a chance to meet during a WrestleMania, and it was pretty cool. Played it with Words with Friends as well, just kind of one of my own things. But anyway, we have our own sign guys at SHW. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
And so that whole crew, they're amazing guys. So
They
shout out
are.
to all of them. And we do look for them. The last show, Brandon and I were sitting at the booth going, "Where's our guys at?"
They shifted.
They shifted seats. So yeah, we're one big family, guys. So if you have not planned to join us for our next show, which of course is SHW27 on May the 7th, of course, tickets are available at the door. So what you should do is make plans to be in Canton, Georgia on May the 7th. Come up to the door, get your tickets, get your seat, sit socially distanced if you want, because here in Georgia now, there's really no mandates on anything. So, at your own risk, be safe, do your own thing. And man, come on and have a great night, because here's the cool thing, man, we're always safe at SHW. We have an amazing time. So I'm looking forward to SHW27, and I hope to see you there.
Absolutely. It's going to be so much fun as always. And tonight, that's going to bring us to tonight's big topic here. We don't actually have a special guest to interview this week, but rather we're going to be previewing SHW27. As I mentioned before, now that all of the matches have been announced, we'll go through the card and kind of lay it out and give our little preview, give our take on the matches here. And so, yeah, here we go. I know we mentioned a few of them last week, so we'll get to those. But let's talk about the ones specifically that were announced this week. And let's start out with one that was announced earlier this week. We saw this guy take on AC Mack not too long ago. I'm talking about Snoop Strikes. And they put on an incredible match with AC Mack. And I remember, GB, you and I, right after that match, we were saying, I hope we see him again. I hope he comes back. And well, our wish has come true. And he'll be taking on the Prince of Petty, Ashton Starr, in what could be the show stealer.
Could be. I mean, I expect a lot of maybe some aerial stuff. I mean, he was all over the place. It was like a dance.
He was.
I don't know.
Very quick.
What if he's going to have his little puffs? He's going to have his little puffs in his hair.
That's kind of what he's known for. I don't know that I've seen him without him, to be honest.
Right?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's rough and tough with his Afro puffs, in the words of Lady of Rage. So shout out to Lady of Rage. I think it's going to be a great match. It's going to be one of the few matches that we see in SHW where Ashton Starr has the strength and size advantage. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure Ashton is going to use that. What scares me right now, and I'm just kind of going back in my mind, Ashton is he still undefeated this year? I feel like
Sean got him last month.
Sean got him. Okay, so that's the one. Now, of course, he probably won't count it, because, Sean's not a regular SHW competitor.
In his mind, he's undefeated.
In his mind, right.
Right.
But to look at it this way, that the one blemish on his record for 2021 came from Sean Dean last month.
Right.
That's a major statement. And so I think he's obviously got a lot of momentum still very much on his side. And don't read this like I'm siding with Ashton Starr, because we aren't there yet. But I will say that this ought to be a great match. Now, here's the problem for Ashton. Ashton has proven that matches with competitors that are smaller than him don't necessarily work. Cue up Vari Morales. And that he had to get a whole petty parties rules thing to get past Vari. So this is going to be interesting. And I think if he's not careful, Snoop Strikes will strike and get the win.
Absolutely. And I mean, think about the match with that he had with AC Mack. I mean, he took AC Mack to the limit. And we thought, how amazing was it be for this guy to come in and make his name in SHW specifically off of AC Mack, who's a former champion, and he almost did that. It was that close.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. It was a good match. I mean, you guys can go back and watch it on IWTV and see what we're talking about. But I mean, he took him to the limits. It was pretty awesome. I had never seen Snoop, how he says his name, but I thought it was awesome. I mean, I want to see him back, so I'm excited.
Yes.
And and I'll just go ahead and put it out there. I mean, people that saw him and are familiar with MLW know him as Cotto Brazil. And so if you're wondering who we're talking about, he was from MLW, and that formerly Cotto Brazil, now going by Snoop Strikes. Snoop Strikes again. And he did. He struck AC Mack again and again and again. I really thought he was that close. And so I think Ashton will have his work cut out for him for sure. Of course, Ashton being another former SHW champion. So not a pushover by any means, and Snoop will have his work cut out for him as well. But
and to be honest with you, Ashton is strong. I mean, I don't know if you realize. He's really strong.
Deceivingly strong. Yep.
Yeah. He really is.
So yeah. And I just it's just a matter of time before Ashton makes his way back to the SHW title. I know he's pushing for it with management because he's wondering, like, why am I not back in the title picture? And maybe what happened last month with Sean, maybe it's just a fluke. I don't know. But
we'll you could argue it's a fluke, or it's a match again where he looked really, really good. Yeah. And so it's a great. I think there's a case for Ashton Starr to get a title match. And now Willie is another story, but there's definitely a case for it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in his defense, it wasn't like Sean just mopped the floor with him. He gave him a fight.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is, you know, he took him to the limit, and that's a match really that would have main evented anywhere in this sport. So I think he's showing that he has what it takes, even with this horrific, horrible, condescending attitude that he has. He still finds
his advantage, though, GB. I mean,
that's what frightens me, right? Like, I'm all for people doing the right thing, walking the straight and narrow, but it's very clear that ever since he decided to stop doing that, he started winning and winning and winning. So
even if it's dirty, he still has the W.
He does. He does. So he doesn't have two W's like you do, because you've got the two W's with the Wonder Woman Cup, huh? But, you know, I just thank you very much. Thank you. So, yeah, you know, Ashton, but with all of this Ashton talk, let's look at the flip side of it. If Snoop Strikes wants to make the ultimate impression here in SHW, you defeat an SHW champion. And so a win over Ashton Starr would do that. And it would absolutely cement him as the player here in SHW. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this match does.
Me too.
So you heard us mention AC Mack a minute ago. Well, let's talk about the big match he's got coming up against, we used to call him the man of 1,000 lariats, and maybe we still do from time to time, but now we're going by Bam Bam, Ben Buchanan. This is going to be a great match. AC Mack and Ben Buchanan announced earlier this week. Two guys that honestly I've just never pictured going against each other since Buchanan has made his debut here several months ago. And now that I see it on paper, I'm like, wow, that's going to be, again, a potential show stealer that you don't even think about. And again, we say this every month. Every match on our cards end up, they could be main events anywhere else. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. And that's the other thing, is that all of these matches could be potential show stealers. You just never know. And I think this could also be a show stealer here on May 7th.
I think a lot's going to come down to is Ben, is he whole? Is he well? Is his ankle okay? I mean, because he's, 2 shows ago he hurt his ankle, and then they kind of worked him out last show. So AC, he's one to kind of, he's going to go for your weakness, and
absolutely, he'll target it. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm interested, but it should be good.
Yeah, in addition to that, I'm also concerned with if Ben Buchanan's head is in the game, because he and his dad have very much been at odds, as we saw in that tag team title match last month, where it was very clear that they were not on the same page, and it ultimately cost them their shot at the tag team championship. And again, I think he is the kid trying to get out of his dad's shadow. What a great way to do that against AC Mack. Here's the problem, though. The problem is Ben Buchanan has yet to chalk up a victory here in SHW. He's had some great looking he's looked great. Yeah. He's had some great matches, and he's lost by a hair. He's lost by a little bit, that type of thing. So he's going to have to figure out what is the game plan that will get him his first victory, because I feel like if he can land a victory, he can find himself, strangely enough, in the title picture. After all, he got a tag team title shot in a tag team that had never wrestled in SHW before. So he's got the opportunity to get some big things done. And what a monstrous victory it would be over AC Mack. The flip side to it is, outside of the loss to Lee Johnson last month, again, AEW bound, AEW signed Lee Johnson, which was a nail biter, by the way. AC Mack has not lost since his return to SHW. So with that said, I think Ben Buchanan is going to have to figure out something and do something he's never done in SHW to get a win over AC Mack.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, if we're picking sides, I guess I'm going to go with AC on this one still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got to go with the Mack of all trades.
All right. Yeah. We don't necessarily have to make this a pick'em show, but if you want to pick take your pick, then go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you.
Hey, I feel like I'm in a good spot with AC right now. I'm not trying to rock the boat. Okay.
This is true. Absolutely. Which, it's funny that you mentioned that, because AC has been getting a lot of love from the SHW faithful, which has also been weird. The flip side is the way Ben Buchanan has been behaving with his dad. You got to wonder where he is on things right now. So
true.
Could we hear boos for Ben?
That's a great question. It could be one of those, like, those old WWE shows, WWF shows that would be in Canada, and they'd be in Bizarro World, where they would boo the guys that you typically cheer and cheer the guys you typically boo. Could it be one of those?
Canton has been Bizarro World before.
Absolutely. We've had that happen before, where you've even said, are we in Canada or are we in Canada? Yeah. What's going on here?
Absolutely.
So, you just never know, but you're exactly
cheering Gunner, at one time lately.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
but then again, it was against David Ali. But then David Ali has boos and cheers at the same time. So I don't know what's going on.
It's just very weird.
And that's what's so cool about the crowd there. And for anybody that hasn't been, I know we say this all the time, we encourage you to come out and see a show live. At the very least, go on IWTV and watch them, but it's just nothing like experiencing it live and in person. And that's a great thing. That's the beauty of it. You can cheer who you want. You can boo who you want. You can do whatever you want. And it's all good,
Yeah, absolutely.
Come out and have a great time. So it is crazy, though, just watching which way the fans go sometimes. It's like, wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Very unexpected, yeah. Because some that you would think would, hate some of the guys they're just adoring. And
well,
you know what? Look, I personally, like Ali's chorus crowd, I'm thinking, okay, those are my guys over there. But then they start singing Hallelujah, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to shoot every one of y'all in the face. What's wrong with y'all? What's wrong with y'all?
I'm telling you, sometimes Diana, man, she's not holding back.
The evolution of Diana.
Come on, you can't show me love and show him love. That's not working.
Well, this topic in particular brings me to this next match, because somebody who fits that mold perfectly, as far as somebody that the crowd just hated and booed. And this was like for a full year when he was going through his feud with Joe Black. I'm talking about the Incredible Huck, William Huckabee. Flip it completely over, and now he's with Hanson and the All-Star Special. GB, nice shirt, by the way. And Hanson and Huck, I mean, they're like the most over thing going in SHW right now. So, you know, we mentioned it when All-Star Special debuted. We were like, well, wait a second, Huckabee. Like a year ago, it was like the complete opposite reaction for the crowd. So it's just, it's crazy how things happen. And
it wasn't like Waffle House wasn't like a compliment.
Right.
Now it's a term of endearment. So,
right.
So that brings me to the reason I bring that up is Huckabee has been announced in a match that we've been anticipating for several months now. He'll be going one-on-one against Cyrus the Destroyer. And this is coming off last month where Cyrus was supposed to have a match, but supposedly tore his shoulder up when he was trying to lift, you know, because we talked about this before. He's a power lifter. He does these like Guinness Book of World Record feats of strength. And he was like trying to lift vehicles or something, according to Logan Chase. And he ripped his shoulder out of socket or something crazy happened. And it's been a month. It will have been a month by the next show. Will he be fully recovered? Or will that just be to the advantage for Huckabee there? I don't know. It's going to be a good match either way. I know that.
Yeah, Huck is old school though. You know, he's one thing I do like about Huck, and I mean, there's a lot of things I like about Huck, but when he wears those old school tights, you know, like Midnight Express used to wear. I mean, that he's old school to me, and I don't think he's going to be a pushover for Cyrus. I mean, he obviously is not going to back down. You've seen what he's done in the past. So he's called him out and spit beer in his face and bashed him with a chair. I mean, he's coming to fight.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Last month, we got the impromptu match, of course, of Hanson and Logan Chase, which we all were just like, oh, my God, this is a dream match because Logan is finally going to get his. And it didn't exactly work out the way that we thought it would. Now, with that said, there is a great deal of trepidation coming into this match, I believe, with Cyrus and Huck. The last time these two were actually in a ring together, first of all, the ring broke.
That's right.
And so there's that. Cyrus was just dominating, and it wasn't even a match. It was a full-on attack. You know, this has been brewing for almost 6 months now, which is just crazy when you think about it. But with that said, it's the match we've wanted to see, didn't know when we would see it, didn't know how we would see it. And now we're going to get it. And we talk about matches that steal the show. You know, this is one of those matches that could turn blood and guts. It could turn, it's going to be very physical. It's going to be very violent, you know, for all of the fun and games. And I think this is the thing that Logan and the entire Honor Society have to consider. Don't think that Huck has gone soft because now he's singing and dancing and, you know, drinking Jim Beam. This is not the case at all. He is still very much that same guy that was in that historic award-winning feud with Joe Black, that was in that award-winning match of the year, the dog collar match. He's that guy. He's the guy that'll rip the ring apart. He's the guy that'll spit mist. He's that guy. And if that guy shows up to fight Cyrus the Destroyer, we might have another destroyed ring. We might have a destroyed action building. This is going to be violent. And I'm actually quite excited for what we could potentially see with these two mammoths. You know, last month we talked about Godzilla versus Kong. This might actually be it right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And here's the thing. As we're giving you these matches here on this card, we don't know what the order is going to be. We think we know what the main event's going to be, and we'll get to that in a second. But my thought is, if this is like early in the show or mid-show, you're right. If that ring gets torn apart,
right,
what are we going to do for the rest of the show? Like we don't know, because
it's happened before. We're just going to keep going, but still.
So what happened with that dog collar match that you mentioned earlier? And folks, if you haven't seen it, it's on IWTV. It's from last January. It was incredible. Maybe SHW27, maybe.
16 or 17.
It was in January, whichever
16,
one it was.
I think it was 16.
And just luckily that night, that was the main event. But like GB said, Huckabee literally tore the ring apart. like ripped the
Board by
canvas back,
board.
pulling boards by board, throwing the boards into the crowd.
That was a scary night. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I mean,
their head.
yeah, it was insane. Luckily, our security was able to get people out of the way just in time, like literally just in time, because those boards were just flying into the first, second, third, fourth row, fifth row. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it. And yeah, that's the thing. Like you said, he hasn't gone soft. And if the Honor Society is thinking that that's the case, they're sorely mistaken. If anything, this stuff going on with the Honor Society and with Cyrus, between Cyrus and Huck, if anything, it's awoken the incredible Huck. You know what I mean? So if they thought, you know, he had gone soft over this time, doing the jukebox, singing the music, having a good time, yeah, they're mistaken. And it's just going to be insane, regardless of whatever happens. But you mentioned the thing with Hanson and Logan Chase from the last show. And if you guys follow either of them on social media, talking about Huck and Hanson, or, you know, the All-Star Special, Hanson's ankle got pretty busted up there from the pictures that he posted. And I don't know what kind of shape he'll be in. I'm assuming he will be at the show to be in the corner of William Huckabee. But I don't know that for a fact. But I know his ankle got pretty messed up because, if you'll recall, they placed it in the chair. Logan Chase up on the second turnbuckle, jumped down, and just snapped it. And you heard us on commentary talking about how serious of a situation it was. I mean, it looked serious, and it was scary. And granted, Hanson, being the showman that he was, still grabbed his beer, still cracked a beer, and toasted the crowd while he was being helped to the back.
It's like his go-go juice. I mean, I take pride into holding his beer while he's in the ring. So when he goes to the back, I have to give it to him. Like, here, take your go-go. It gives him life.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think sometimes we forget of a power of the moment, you know, and what adrenaline can do to you. You know, this week on A&E, they had the biography of Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he talked about when he got that massive pile driver from Owen Hart and still tried to finish the match while paralyzed. And he, you know, he couldn't feel his arms, but he still managed to stand up. And it made me think about Hanson in the sense of, he's trying to stand up and he can't stand up, and he's trying to drink a beer. Like, there's the whole adrenaline that happens in the moment that when you come down from it, you go, holy cow, what just happened here? You know? So I am obviously concerned. I hope that he's doing better. With him not being booked on the card says to me, perhaps the severity of things for him, considering how hot he is. Now, that doesn't mean he won't show up. You know, he might still be in good enough condition to drink a beer. I think he's always in good enough condition to drink a beer.
I don't think he's going to be handcuffed to anybody.
I hope not. And the other thing I'm concerned about is, I don't know if it's a good idea for him to show up, because I think that'll be a target for the Honor Society. I think it'll prove as a distraction for Huck. And it could allow Cyrus to get the win if he shows up, because I don't see him possibly being in fighting shape with, of course, the picture he showed the whole world of his ankle. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. And you got to think, too, with the other members of the Honor Society, they brought those handcuffs into play last month.
Sure
and
did.
They had handcuffed Huckabee to the ropes.
Yes.
Which enabled them to attack Hanson without Huckabee being able to get in there and help him out. So hopefully, you know, not yet rated, the members of Honor Society, talking about Kingsley and Ryan, hopefully they'll be focused on their title aspirations rather than focus on bringing handcuffs to the ring and beating somebody down again. So we'll see.
Well, we would have thought that last month.
True.
You know, knowing that was a #1 contenders match last month, and you know, they still managed to get involved. So
so we'll see. Time will tell, but all you can do is join us May 7th and come see for yourself for SHW27. But these next few matches, of course, we touched on them last week, so we probably won't go in crazy depth again this week, but we will touch on them all one more time for you. I just mentioned the tag team title match there. First of all, it's going to be the tag title #1 contenders match, which we had last month, and, of course, time limit draw, unfortunately, but we were guaranteed there will be a winner this time. How they're guaranteeing it, I don't really know, unless they just go no time limit, or I mean, who's to say? I don't really know what they're going to do to guarantee a winner here, but it's going to be, of course, technical excellence. Chip Day, Kyle Matthews taking on once again the Honor Society members of Jordan Kingsley, Kevin Ryan, and from what we were told online, we found out that it will be immediately following that match, they will get their title shot against Lethal Poison. So again, I mentioned this last week, I think it was. It's like Daniel Bryan, winning the Elimination Chamber.
Right.
And you think, oh, great, he gets a title shot now. Well, he had to have it immediately after he won the Elimination Chamber. So that didn't work. That didn't work out too well for him.
Sure didn't.
So I feel bad for, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'll feel bad for the Honor Society if it happens to be them, because then they're going to have to face Lethal Poison. And, of course, I feel bad for Tech X if it ends up being them. They got to face Lethal Poison right after. So either team, I think, is in trouble, and I don't think stand a very good chance of knocking off Lethal Poison, but who knows?
Diana?
I feel the same way. I really do. I don't know that that's actually a fair stipulation. I mean, at least give me a breath. Let me get some water or something. But I'm going for the number one contenders match. I'm going to shoot for technical excellence. I think those guys are due. I mean, they put in the work and they've actually shown they can work as a tag team and be freaking awesome. I mean, how many times did they actually? Well, they didn't tap them out, but they came mighty close to tapping out both Kingsley and Ryan together at the same time.
Yeah.
Where was the ref? I mean, good God. But still, I'm going to go with them over Honor Society, because I do think Honor Society will be a little preoccupied with whatever Logan has them doing to help, Cyrus. So,
I think of two things. Number one, I think the knowledge of there being a title match immediately after is going to alter the strategy of both teams. I think both teams are going to have to go for a quick victory to try to conserve their energy, because in either case, Lethal Poison has a completely different makeup in terms of a tag team versus whomever their opponents currently are. So if it's technical excellence, not yet rated, are two smaller guys in stature, yet very, very agile, high flying, in your face, as opposed to the incredible strength of Michael Judas, the cunning nature of course, his tag team partners. So the problem that you have there is that on the flip side, if you're the Honor Society, you're fighting these two technical wizards, and then you have to turn around and deal with the brawling brute strength, of course, of Michael Judas. And here's the problem with that. You remember, I think they had I think it was a tag match, or may have been a 6-man tag match that happened earlier this year that involved Honor Society and Lethal Poison. And there was a moment where those guys were going at it in such a brutal way. I mean, it was clear that they did not like each other. So however you look at this, in my opinion, this has Gary Lamb's fingerprints at the scene of the crime. And I keep telling you guys, nobody wants to believe me. I feel like Bobby Heenan talking about Hulk Hogan at this point. Nobody else saw it but him until Hogan dropped that leg and formed the NWO and proved that Heenan was right the whole time. I'm telling you, this match favors Lethal Poison. Lethal Poison is still in bed with Gunnar Miller. Gunnar Miller is the best friend of Gary Lamb. And however you look at this, this is protecting Lethal Poison. I don't see how Lethal Poison leaves without the belts, because you fight. I mean, this is what they want.
Yeah.
This is what, and if you think about it, man, every time Lethal Poison has come close to the titles, they've gotten it in some weird way. They were almost handed the titles 2 months ago. Right. So, something in this milk isn't clean, and far be it from me to tell you what it is, but I'll say this much: GL Gary Lamb.
Well, there you go.
You're not wrong. I'm not even going to oppose you at all. I mean, let's see how it plays out, because
let's see.
No, I think I think either whoever wins that number one contenders match is in trouble regardless. And I think I see Lethal Poison walking out of there after SHW27 still the tag champs, whether I like it or not. However, I'm not going to lie. I know we're supposed to remain unbiased at the commentary booth, but if Technical Excellence were to win, I feel like we would see them more often, and we get to hear that killer theme song. Don't sweat the technique.
Yes.
Because I love it when they come out, man. I just love it.
Yes.
Well,
I
I would say that maybe the best, if they were to win and they were to get lethal poison, the best bet would be to maybe mobilize or immobilize Judas somehow,
Yeah.
and then tap out Corey, because we've seen him tap out before.
Yes,
I've never
yes.
seen Judas even in a submission hold to tap out. So I
He's
mean,
he's so big.
he's
Right.
so big. He is
Right.
a freaking monster. But yeah, I still think Lethal Poison's leaving with the titles.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just really curious because remember, I think it was the end of December or November into December where Gary Lamb makes this promise to the then tag team champions, the Lynch Mob, and says, hey, you know what? We're going to bring in bigger teams, better teams. We're going to beef up this tag team division. No sooner than he does that, all of a sudden we have new champions. My thought in question is, does that promise still in-house, right? In-house. So does that promise still hold to Lethal Poison that he's going to bring in the best tag teams from around the world? I don't know, because it certainly seems like he's serving up either of these two teams that gets this #1 contenders match. They're not being put
in the Buchanans. He just put them together.
Right.
I mean, that there wasn't even a team before, last month.
But think about it. You give them a title defense against a team who's never fought in SHW. They've never had a match in SHW. It's easy pickings.
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
Where are the outside teams? Where are they at?
Gary Lamb might be the invisible member of Lethal Poison.
You keep saying it. I can't. I'm not denying it.
He's the fourth man.
He's the fourth man. It was me. It was me all the time.
He's gonna come out in the hood and pull the hood down. It was me, Austin.
Yes.
All right.
Well, driving the Hummer.
Right. I did it for The Rock.
We're going all over the place. I love it. Let's move on to another match. Of course, we mentioned last week a guest that we had 2 shows ago, 2 weeks ago, and he made his surprise debut. Well, at SHW27, he'll be making his official in-ring debut for SHW, and that is the outlandish Zicky Dice. He'll be facing off against Owen Knight, and Owen, as we mentioned before, Owen will definitely be looking for a little bit of payback after what happened at the last show.
I dig Ziggy. I dig him, but I want Owen to get some payback. I mean, he deserves it. I mean, he's been shunned a little bit, and it's almost like they're picking on him. I don't know why. I don't know why Ashton calls him guest. I don't know. I don't get it, but he's due. I don't know if he's going to get Zicky, but he's due.
Yeah. Yeah, there are 2 pieces to this story. On one end, I see Owen, who is giving me shades of the late great DMX. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here, because you keep putting him in these scenarios where he keeps having to deal with injustice, and it's not fair and it's not right. And at the same time, when I think about Zicky Dice, and I'm not overstating this, I'm reminded of when Christian Cage signed to Impact. I'm reminded, of these big moves that companies have made that have changed the trajectory of that promotion. And to me, Zicky Dice feels like that signing for SHW. Not that SHW needed any more push into the stratosphere, but when you get a guy who's a former World TV's champion with the NWA, when you get a guy who has the star power of Zicky Dice, something is going to go down with this guy. I don't know how quickly he'll shoot to the title picture, but he definitely feels like a game changer for SHW. And for all of the things that we've talked about, this is going to be a match that we're going to be paying attention to, and we're going to remember this match for a lot of reasons. It could be the night that we remember the real unveiling of Zicky Dice in SHW.
It very well could be, but at the same time, man, I want it to just be a fair one-on-one match with no outside interference by the Prince of Petty, perhaps, because I feel like that's what's bound to happen. I hope it doesn't, But I just feel like after what happened last month, where Zicky and Ashton seem to align themselves with each other, attacking Owen, and like you said, Owen just the short end of the stick every single month comes up just short, or something unfair happens, or whatever the case may be. Man, I just if it could just be a straight up one-on-one matchup, I feel good about Owen's chances, whether he's facing a former NWA TV champion or not, whoever it is.
I agree.
But I just don't know if that's going to happen. One can hope. I hope it does. But
well, consider this: Zicky Dice sat in our audience in a gorilla suit for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
it's hot in that building, folks.
Since doors opened at 7 p.m.
Yes, because we noticed him during the pre-show.
Because you said it during the pre-show, like, "Ooh, look at this guy." Okay, that was at 7 p.m. right when doors opened. And at that point in the show, maybe it was like midway through the show, maybe when that happened. So you're right. It was probably a good solid 2 hours at that point.
Yeah. And so, I mean, if he will think that elaborately in terms of how he'll make his debut, I'm nervous about what else he could have in mind. Yeah. So this is going to be a great test for Owen. The other side to this is Owen Knight wins. I think he starts to get some much needed retribution, because think about how his year started. His year started at the pinnacle of things, getting finally an SHW title shot, the main event of our show, in a cage match against his most hated rival. And he got screwed. There's no other way to say it. He got screwed. Never got a rematch, never got an opportunity. And so, it's been challenge after challenge ever since. He is due. And so all the more reason why this is one of those pick'ems. Like one would say, who would lose their debut? Well, he's not just fighting anybody. Zicky Dice is fighting Owen Knight, who has got everything that it takes to be a champion here in SHW. So I'm intrigued by this match.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
Gonna be a good one. You mentioned that cage match at the top of the year between Owen and David Ali. Well, if we remember who the special guest referee was for that match, it was the one and only, our guest from last week, the real mean girl, Danny Jordan. Of course, she did make a brief appearance in the Rumble Jack last August. And
did well.
Did well. But we saw her a couple times since then, just in brief appearances. Of course, she was the special guest ref, but she has not had a singles match in over a year in an SHW ring. Of course, we've seen her on AEW, whether it was Dark Elevation, Dynamite. She's been on all three a few times, and she will be finally making her in-ring return to SHW. And what just so happens to be a rematch from SHW17, which was last February, and pre-pandemic. So, and she'll be facing Catalina Perez once again. So they put on a great match last time. I know they're going to put on a great match this time as well, I'm sure.
Right.
And I know the crowd is excited. It's funny enough because, again, she's the real mean girl. And when we saw her a year ago, she wasn't really making friends with the crowd or anybody on the roster for that matter, other than the New Era. And they kind of went their separate ways. Well, now, and there was a prime example when she was the guest ref. Look at the crowd reaction she got.
Yes.
It was nuts.
She came out and it was like the prodigal had returned. And I mean, she looked great. She looks great. She's killing it. She's doing well with AEW.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see her. I mean, I want to see her in the house, just ready to go. Catalina, of course, she's making her appearance on AEW as well. I'll be honest, I don't follow her as much because I'm not as familiar with her, but I mean it's gonna be a cat fight, but she's tough.
Yes.
Tough.
It's one of those things where things change, right? Yeah. Everything turns. And one of the things that we see, the bird said to everything, turn, right? And that's what we're seeing with Danny Jordan. Again, one of the things that 2020 has taught us is that things change, people change, and, life changes. And she's gone through quite a few changes, and it's so intriguing. I don't know that she's done anything to specifically endear herself to the crowd. But as we learned with AC Mack, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And so people are right now loving Danny Jordan. This is how at times Canton can be bizarro land. When I don't know why I've said his name for the third time in this podcast. Gary Lamb goes on social media and says he's previously hated Danny, but now he loves her.
Now she's the queen of SHW.
Now she's the queen of SHW.
What do you say, from trash to queen?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
You know, he's the guy that gives you the backhanded compliment and you go, eh? And he's like, I love you. So, yeah, exactly. I mean, with all of that said, Danny is coming back to a hero's welcome. And honestly, it wouldn't matter who you put her in the ring with because of this kind of homecoming, because it's been so long since we've seen her. She's in the best shape of her life, in and out of the ring. She is probably as dangerous as she's ever been. No slight to Catalina Perez, who I know is going to give her a handful. And quite frankly, if Catalina can win this match, does she become the queen of SHW at this point? It's something we have to consider. But I say like this. There's no way Danny Jordan loses this match, and I'll go so far as to say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I will. The trajectory for Danny Jordan, it's me, is incredibly bright, right? We have seen her. She's really one of the first SHW talents that we saw in an AEW ring, right, going back to the early days of Dynamite. Yep. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there is already a path that has been carved out for SHW stars to make their way to places like AEW. She is a 3-time Georgia Women's Wrestler of the Year. The question I have is, how many more times do we get to see Danny Jordan in an SHW?
She's making her last appearance.
That's the question. Yeah. And so with that said, I feel like the fans understand that. The fans are appreciative of her. And I'm going way out here and say this. 4th time, Gary Lamb, go find a women's championship. Give us what we really want.
Please.
Go find 8 women, which I know you can do. Put together a tournament. If it has to be a one-night tournament, we need an SHW women's champion. It's got to happen.
I agree. Thank you, GB.
You said it here last week. You heard Danny talk about it last week, and you just mentioned about how you just don't know when it might be the last time we see Danny Jordan at SHW. It could be a situation like we had with Lee and Sean at the last show, where we're having to say a farewell as they move on to bigger, the bigger promotion, the bigger national promotion. Yeah. And the very same could happen with Danny. We don't know, but that's all the more reason for you fans to come to SHW Live and see it in person, because you're getting to see not just Danny, but any number of these talents in the early stages of their career before they could.
Springboard. It's a springboard to go on. I mean,
and how cool is it to say that you saw so-and-so before they ended up on television nationally? And, it's just such a cool thing, a cool experience all the way around. So all I'm saying is get out here, folks. Come to the show, May 7th, SHW27. And that's going to bring us to the main event, which is going to be, at least in SHW's history, this is going to be the first ever bunkhouse brawl match. And if it's anything like we know of former, bunkhouse brawls in the past, it's going to be absolutely insane, as you have the team of Fear, Sunny Days, Logan Creed, of course, accompanied by Ravenna Vane, taking on the team of David Ali and Austin Towers. It's going to be one for the ages, I feel like.
It's like the Devils versus the Savior, but it's like the personalities are changed. Right?
Right.
Like the Savior is actually the evil one and the Devils are actually the cool ones. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, Brandon, you have to help me on this. When's the last time Fear has been in a tag team match in SHW?
Man,
before me. So it's
definitely before me.
Put me on the spot here.
I can tell you this. I know it has not been since I've been attending SHW, which goes back to September 2019.
Yeah.
So we're talking well over a year, certainly longer than that, since we've seen them team up.
I tell you what, real quick, let's put it to the fans. Go back on IWTV and find the show where they last teamed up, because I said this to you off air earlier, like, wrestlers get hit in the head with chairs, and so they have a bad memory. I have a bad memory, and I don't have an excuse.
You've been punched in the face by Danny Jordan. That's your excuse.
There's my excuse. Twice, right?
There it is. Twice, exactly.
Twice that y'all know of.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anywho.
So with that said, I think, number one, this is going to be special to see Fear in a tag team match. But this is a tag team match that really suits their fancy. They're not worried about tags and holding on to the tag ropes. They're not worried about cutting off the ring. They are simply going to be together in a fight. And it is a fight that has been building for months. You know, if you go back, of course, all the way back to several months ago when David Ali punted Ravenna Vane, right? Mm-hmm. And then he turned around and, of course, before that, Austin Towers kicked, of course, Sunny Days in the face, right? Like, all of these things have happened. We've had tables matches. We've had first blood matches that were inconclusive. And then, of course, we remember Logan getting punted in front of his son.
Oh, I remember.
You remember, you were there, you know, and the internet went absolutely crazy, you know. And so for me, I just sit back and say, all of these combustible elements finally coming to a head. And I'll go so far as to say this. Right now, there's no concern about the SHW championship. This is about revenge. This is about fighting for your family. If it's the family of Fear or if it's Logan and his son, we are fighting about family and things that matter to us. And you all know that anybody will do anything to defend their family. And that's what's going to go down on May the 7th. So, you know, blood is thicker than water. The question is, whose blood is thickest? And I'm tending to think it's going to be the blood of Fear.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Because, you're going to have Ravenna there. Mm-hmm. And that's your third.
Yes.
And, I mean, I don't know who's going to be reffing.
Let's hope it's not David Weekley.
I was about to say, watch it end up being David Weekley again. Mm-hmm. If that's the case going into the match, GB, if we see right off the bat that he's going to be the referee, then I, you know, and I didn't even think about that until just this second. Because going into this, I'm thinking Fear is finally going to get, or, you know, David and Towers is going to get what they have coming to him from Fear. Right. But you just made me think of this. If we see that he's the referee, I may change my tune a little bit, because at that point.
But I see it this way. It doesn't matter who wins or lose. They're actually, Fear's going to get their revenge regardless. Whoever wins the business. They're going to actually get their revenge, and David and Towers is going to feel the pain.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why I love us even doing this is it excites me all over again for this card. All of these matches are potential main events anywhere in the independent wrestling world, and we get them all here at SHW27. So
we get to call them.
We get to call them. And let me tell you, that's not lost on me. I really geek out about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do too. I love getting my cards together before the show and just like, look at this.
Yes.
And we say this all the time, and I don't know if the fans believe us or not. And if you don't, it is what it is. But the thing is, you see us talk to each other on these podcasts. But we talk to each other basically like all week. Like
we do.
All
week long. We have a little chat that we're just always going back and forth, and we're all three always geeking out about and when the match announcements happen throughout the week, like we're getting like, oh, did you see who's going to be in this match? Oh, it's going to be great.
Yes.
Like we're fans first too, you know, like so
absolutely.
We get so excited about this stuff, and the fact that we get to call the matches and call this action, like it's just it's surreal. Like it's like, wow,
it is.
We get to call this. This is great.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, whether we go back to the Rock and Roll Express or Kenny and Jericho and Cody and like whatever it is, it's just surreal to like, and like we said earlier, now you're looking at these future stars that we could look back in 5 years from now at a AEW champion or WWE champion and be like, hey, remember when we called them in SHW?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about that, folks. Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho made their last independent stops at SHW.
Yeah.
Before
Cody
they hit
and the
TNT.
Dog, man. Cody and the Dog. I wasn't even there for that.
Oh, Pharaoh.
Right.
Pharaoh, yeah.
Right.
Pharaoh and Cody even said it. Pharaoh had a heel turn there because
he did, didn't he?
Pharaoh was on the poster and he came out to the ring with Cody, and poor Pharaoh, like the crowd was insane that night. We had over 1,000 people packed into the Action Building. So Pharaoh initially came down to the ring and just squirmed out under the bottom rope and ran straight back to the back because he just freaked out a little bit. And Cody was like, "Oh, he turned heel on us."
Yeah.
But he made his brief appearance. So the most famous dog in pro wrestling, I dare say.
Absolutely.
But no, man, that was a crazy night. But you heard Sean Dean, I believe it was. I think it was Sean at the last show talking about what Kenny said in the ring that night.
Yes.
Because our roster was surrounding the ring while Kenny was in the ring, giving kind of like the final speech of the night, talking about how some of these people around the ring will be making their way to AEW at some point in the future. And then lo and behold, if you look around that ring, if you go back and look around that ring and see how many people have shown up, whether it's Dark Elevation, or on Dynamite. And it's just kind of a cool thing to look back on and be like, wow, that came true. Like, that's pretty cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and it's still happening. Yeah, still happening. Not just Sean, not just Lee Johnson. We talked about Danny. We've seen Ali. We've seen Ashton, Very Morales. We've seen just a ton of folks that pop up from time to time in AEW, and you go, hey, I just saw them last week at SHW at the Action Building.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to miss seeing it in person, folks, and that's what I'm getting at. It's a long way to get there, but that's what I'm getting at.
The atmosphere at SHW is insane. The atmosphere itself.
Yeah.
Insane. And I mean, from the get-go, from the opening bell to the end of the show, it's I love it. I mean, I don't drive all the way up there for nothing. Okay, that's a long drive for me.
That's right. I don't know if fans realize that. Yeah, we don't live in Canton. I mean, we
don't.
We're coming from all over the place just to be there because it's that cool of a show, and it's that important to us to be a part of it. So, like we said, tickets go on sale the night of the show, starting at 5 p.m. at the doors. Of course, the show is on May 7th, SHW27. Doors will open at 7. Bell time will be at 8. Of course, we'll be doing the live version of this show, which will be the SHW27 pre-show on Facebook Live from 7 to 7:30. And we cannot wait. We hope you guys will come out and join us. As GB said, in the state of Georgia, all the restrictions have pretty much been lifted. And, I mean, even at the Action Building, there weren't that many restrictions to begin with. You can come, you can take your seat, put it wherever you feel comfortable, wear a mask if you feel comfortable. Just be an adult, take responsibility for yourself. That's been my thought all along, really.
Don't wipe your nose on anybody's chair. Don't cough on somebody. Don't snot. Don't,
common
it's
sense.
the same thing. Come on. You were taught this mess when you were a kid. If you wasn't, blame
some people were. Yeah. Apparently, it's common sense isn't necessarily common.
Look, if we can do it down here in South Georgia, you guys can do it up there, okay?
I love it. Well, hey, you know what? The reason we're not doing this preview show next week is because we have a very special guest, and I'm going to leave you hanging there, but we have a very special guest, which we're going to leave the whole episode up to that special guest, and we didn't want to have to try to cram in the preview show into next week's show. And so that's why we giving you the preview a little bit early this, a week or so early. So that's the reason why, but tune in next week as we have a special guest coming up, and that is going to do it for this week. So until next time, this has been
SHW.
This is our wrestling.
Yeah.